Well, here we go. We are ready for the climax of 2 Samuel chapter 18. And verse 9 tells us that Absalom, as he's trying to run away, is caught in the thick of the forest trees by the thickness of his hair. His earthly pride and glory has made him to be caught in a trap. But we need to pay attention to the details of this part of the text. The narrator tells us that Absalom's mule went on without him. The mule was the preferred travel, the partner of the king, and now that the mule goes on without Absalom on his back, this is a fitting picture, don't you think? The kingdom slips right out from underneath him because Absalom's vanity gets him all tangled up into a helpless position. Another detail that we need to see is that little phrase that Absalom was suspended between heaven and earth. That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? But it's true nonetheless. He is rejected by heaven, and he is of no earthly good. His own pride is his own cursing, and he is found to be hanging literally in the balance. And the real nail-biter of the text is this: what's going to happen to Absalom? Will he be found, and will he be dealt gently with? But before we get there, I want you to think about something else. Think about what Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 23 says. And this particular verse would have been in the minds of the original audience. It says this: "For a hanged man is cursed by God." So the original audience would have definitely thought that Absalom was a cursed man. He was hanging, as it were, in a tree. But here's the greater reality. We are all Absaloms in this passage who face the reality of our earthly pride and glory being the very things that entrap and entangle us in such a mess that we cannot escape or find relief from them. What we deem as our greatest attributes and achievements will be the greatest evidence against us as we stand before a holy God, cursed by our own vanity and pride and sin. Sin is the boasting of self over God, and the wages of sin is death. And so in a sense, we're all riding mules trying to establish our own kingdoms in rebellion against God's kingdom. And whether we realize it or not, we are all riding towards a showdown with the judgment of God. We are all under the curse of sin. But we are people who read our Bibles through New Testament lenses. And as we read through the Old Testament, we want to understand the Old Testament fully in its original context, but we also know that much of what we read in the New Testament is a fulfillment of many of the types and shadows and prophecies that are in the Old Testament. And we read this in the New Testament in the book of Galatians chapter 3, verse 13. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. For it is written, "Cursed is everyone who is hanged on a tree." As you pray today, please remember Chris and Alicia Sampson and their family, our missionaries in the Philippines. Also remember the Sukuma Life Word broadcast that's heard throughout Tanzania.